Exit algorithms. Scale smarter. Sell stronger.
Welcome to Exit Algorithms, the podcast where we decode what it really takes to unlock growth, streamline operations, and prepare your business for a high-value exit. I'm your host, Pete Vera, and today I'm joined by Lindsay White. She has over 20 years experience in human resources and is the founder of High Voltage Leadership, where she now works as a people strategist, leadership coach, organization design expert, speaker, and podcast host, to name a few titles. She helps founders lead with clarity, build teams, and scale sustainably. Lindsay, I'm excited to have you here today. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. I appreciate being here with you.
Business.
Yeah, absolutely. I often joke that my business started the day I quit my corporate job in the middle of a meeting. At the time, I had spent many years working in HR, leadership development, and people strategy roles. I've been working with everything from frontline employees to C-suite executives, and I really loved working with those senior leaders to help them build strong teams and navigate people challenges and create workplaces where people could really deliver their best work. But in 2017, I found myself working for a leader who really represented everything I believe leadership should not be. And one day, sitting in another frustrating meeting with that person, I realized I just couldn't do it anymore. And I quit right in the middle of that meeting, closed my laptop, walked away, and negotiated my own severance package on the way out. And what that experience really taught me was how profoundly leadership impacts people. Great leadership can really help people thrive, and poor leadership can really drive people away. So as I decided to start building my own business, I really noticed that was very interesting. So many talented people were leaving corporate careers, particularly women, and they were building businesses. But they were trying to figure out leadership on the fly. Maybe they hadn't had great examples, just like me. They knew how to deliver their service. They had a great product, attract clients and build teams, but nobody had really taught them how to lead, how to create a people strategy, how to build culture. So that's really why I founded High Voltage Leadership. And now today I work primarily with female founders, but I work with some really great guys too, helping them strengthen those three areas. So their own leadership development, people strategy, and their workplace culture. Because what I've learned is that businesses really scale successfully when they aren't built by founders that do everything themselves. They're built by founders who learn how to lead through their people and scale through really high-performing teams.
I'm curious.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I'll reflect on my own experience. I mean, certainly someone who doesn't listen very effectively, someone who is constantly showing up late. I think that really shows a lack of respect for the people that you are working with. Someone that takes credit where other people's, have had the great idea or really designed the program or the system. I think really poor leadership is reflected in how we connect and communicate. I think, that's often missing. And one of the key things I think is in poor leadership is a real lack of the ability to empathize. I think that underpins a lot of the behavior is that if we're not acting as a great leader, we really aren't able to understand where are the people on our team at and what do they need in order to perform at their best.
I think it's useful sometimes to imagine the opposite, like the worst case, and then do the opposite of that and work
100%.
backwards in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You work with a lot of growing companies that are, scaling. I'm curious, where do you see businesses break down on the people side as they grow and scale?
Yeah. Particularly as organizations start to scale, and in order to do that, they really need to not only have the team they have today perform more efficiently and more effectively, but they also need to add to that team. And one of the biggest misses, one of the things that gets left out until there's a problem, is really a strategic approach to that talent. So, not just adding people to do tasks or do jobs, particularly often as leaders, that's what we're doing. I just can't do it all anymore. I just need to give, we're often told to delegate, and that's awesome. But if we're not thinking strategically about who we're adding, when we're adding them, why we're adding them, and what we actually want them to generate. What is success for that role? How does it contribute from an ROI standpoint to the bottom line? That is a significant miss, because what happens, we just end up with a team that's sort of like plugging holes in the dike, if you will, instead of a team that's actually really enhancing the business and ultimately what we're trying to accomplish in our business plan.
Yeah, makes sense. And beyond just people, do you see any other mistakes founders, business owners make commonly as they scale?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest mistakes we make as founders is that we do forget that we actually have to evolve our own leadership. You can't have a high performing team if you're not willing to be a high performing leader. And that leadership skill needs to grow as our business and our team grows. And there isn't a manual, right? And that often is the really tricky part. So as the founder, we're often the brains of the operation. We are the ideator. We're the owner of the IP. We built what we have. And because of that, we end up with all the organizational knowledge. We have all the history. And it's also easy for us to get in and tinker. And that's where we get into the micromanaging. And it's easy because we feel really confident and comfortable doing the work, being involved in the delivery. But as our team grows, actually, they don't need us involved. They need us to lead them and enable them. And that is one of the biggest sticky, messy spots as a founder when our business really starts to scale and our team starts to grow.
I'm curious, about organizational design. I'd love to drill into that a little bit more. How do you approach organizational design?
Yeah. And for sure, I mean, it's a very specific skill set inside of human resources or people and culture, organizational design. So, at its heart, it really is thinking about how does your organization and the people inside of it need to be structured in order for them to deliver on your business plan and those goals that you've laid out. Right? So when we think about organizational design, we often start with, what do we have today? We call that the as is, right? What does it look like inside? What's working? What's not? Who have we got on the team? What are they really skilled at? Perhaps also, where do we have gaps? And then we want to analyze and think about, where do we need to be? Where are we going? What is that business plan giving us in terms of direction? And what does it need to look like to get there? And then what we can do is really think about where we are today, where we want to go, what's missing in the middle. What do we need to build? What are the roles, the skills, the individuals? Who do we need? And not just from, a skills and experience perspective, but who are they? What do they do? How are they going to show up and behave for us? Because that really starts to impact our company culture, of course. And so that's what organizational design is all about, is literally building it from the individuals out instead of the business plan in. And I shouldn't say instead of, I should say at the same time, because the two things need to work really cohesively together, again, in order for us to scale in a way that is sustainable, that also really focuses on the outcomes we want, the revenue we want to generate, the goals and deliverables, and really builds the organization all in service of accomplishing that.
What are some common signs you see the company's outgrown its current structure?
Yeah, that is a fantastic question. I think, some of the signs for me in particular are that first of all, we still have the founder and the CEO involved in a great deal of the delivery, because that becomes problematic. That's not scalable. We're only one human and we only have so many hours in a day. So that becomes problematic. I think when I see teams where we have a number of individuals that are doing really divergent activities, right? So we have someone who's in graphic design, but also has to, answer all the emails, who is also doing the bookkeeping. And we
Hmm.
end up with these people that are actually doing work that requires very different skill sets, the unicorns, if you will. And unicorns are mythical, they really don't exist. And we need oftentimes to find individuals that are highly skilled at fewer things in order, again, to really scale effectively, to make sure we have the right expertise. And again, often as founders, we're hiring people that are potentially friends or family or people along the way. And they're awesome. They're very dedicated and focused to our mission, but they may not have the right background and expertise. And so it really makes sense to actually design the right roles. What do we need done? What makes sense in terms of those outcomes? What do we need in terms of skills and experience? Then let's match the people up to those things, right? So we build from
Hmm.
the role out instead of the human back in. And that's one of the trickiest pieces.
Yeah. Oh, I love that approach. Starting with what needs to be done
Yes.
first. We talk a lot on this show about owner dependence. It's one of the key drivers in business valuation if they decide to sell at some point. I'm curious your perspective. Mentioned it a little bit, but what separates a team that runs smoothly from one that constantly needs the owner to step in?
Yeah, 100%. And this is absolutely critical when you're thinking about that exit point, because if all of the knowledge and all of the information and all of the experience really is grounded back into the founder, that becomes very difficult to evaluate, very difficult to sell. So it certainly is, I think, a really key topic, Pete, to be thinking about. What makes a team work very smoothly is when we do have the right structures and the right systems. So I understand as an individual, what's my lane? What am I accountable for? What do I own? Where do I get to make decisions? And also, what does success look like? And we often forget to define what is success in this role. Then we can also think about what are the communication channels? Who needs to know what when? And as the founder, I need to be able to understand what's happening in my business. I don't have to be accountable to do it all. And if I am, I'm actually becoming the bottleneck. I am hampering people from actually doing the great work I've hired them and am paying them to do.
What have you seen successful strategies to eliminate the owner as a bottleneck?
Yeah, so I work fractionally with a number of different organizations across different professions, right? The one organization I've been working with now for a little while, the founder, the co-founder, is the CEO, and a lot of the IP that is driving the business is their IP. Right? Really are the brains of the operation, and they are a regarded expert, which is awesome. But if they do have an exit in mind at some point in the not too distant future. Well, the truth is, we actually need to be able to build back some of that expertise into the business. And we've started to do that, right? We've done some organizational design. We've done some very strategic recruitment, and we've designed those roles we're recruiting for that, are really people with that foundational expertise that can be mentored by the founder and CEO, and their growth is aligned with when we sort of foresee there might be an exit. Because then the expertise, the organizational knowledge, the information is built back into the team and the business as a whole with some individuals that have that very specific piece of expertise that can really have long lasting careers in the organization.
The business will is assured to continue to run as it
Yes.
has been once the
Yes.
owner leaves. Is
Yes.
there anything that you've seen works well to train those people? Do you have the owner create like SOPs or what is kind of your process around that?
Yeah. It sort of depends on the role. and what we need them to be able to, bring back in terms of their expertise, and also who we've hired. So sometimes it's as simple as mentorship. It's someone that's going to work really closely with the founder and CEO in that space, not be their shadow necessarily, but they already have some of that skill set, and the founder can just really help them elevate. In other spaces, yes, SOPs can be critical. That's a lot more task oriented, right? Do this, then do that, then do this. Those things can be very valuable, and I often recommend, video libraries. Having an explainer, we use a lot of platforms and technology. The videos make it very helpful because not only can I hear what you're saying, I can follow your mouse around the screen. I think sometimes it can be more than one individual. So perhaps as organizations grow, we need to branch into different departments. We need potentially different verticals. And so it may be actually creating, some channels in our organization and different leaders that actually have accountability for different parts of the business. That, again, then we can meet collectively as a leadership team. That's such a great way to not only bring people together to share their wisdom, but also bring the wisdom to the group, right? So that we're expanding everyone's knowledge, not just one person. So sort of depends on the circumstance and where the organization and even the founder are at.
You mentioned technology. I'm curious now, AI, everybody's talking about it. I always like to ask guests, how are you seeing it being deployed most effectively and changing your specific industry?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, certainly from a leadership development, people and culture perspective, AI is starting to change the landscape. So everything from recruitment, right? Lots of people are using an LLM with their resume, their cover letter, helping them understand what jobs are available, which ones they should apply for and not. I still think that, despite the fact that we're using AI in that space, we need to have the human element. So we still need to do a really great job in our recruitment system, making sure that we are connecting in the right way, that we're really leveraging those great interview questions to get underneath what's in the resume, really understand the human element. Those things I think are absolutely critical. But certainly I have organizations, some are really leaning into it. They're really excited about it. They use it every day. Other organizations are, less enthusiastic. They're very concerned about their data and IP being brought into an LLM platform and potentially being compromised. So as a consultant, I'm always very sensitive about what is the organization's philosophy. And if they don't have one, then I really help them engage in that conversation. How are we? What does AI mean here? When is it appropriate that we leverage an LLM platform, and what platform are we choosing? And then on the other side, when is it important that this absolutely has to be generated by a human? And where do the two pieces connect in the middle? Where can we leverage AI to speed us up? I use it every day. I got one working right now on something that's very manual. But where does the human element come in to make sure that we really know what we're producing, why we're producing it, and is it what we actually want? Are we getting what we ask for? Yeah. So I use Chat and Claude, and I'm just getting into Claude. I'll be perfectly honest. I'm far more functional in Chat at this point, but I know that Claude has a lot to offer. But I use it all the time. So I use it for everything from supporting my content in terms of social media. So I can talk to Chat, I can tell it a great story, and it can really help me format that. And then I can actually edit and audit what it's created. I can go back to it and say, yeah, Chat, that doesn't sound like me. Do better, right? Like, I'm pretty hard on it, quite frankly. So I use it for those kinds of things. I use it a lot to help me when I've had conversations, and I use it to help me take notes. I can stay really present with my clients, and then I can use an LLM platform to help me not only take the notes, but also what are some follow-up questions? What are the actions we need to take? What are the pieces that we need to design? What did we talk about in terms of an outline for that? Okay, now I can take that and fill in that framework. So it really speeds up my process and also allows me to stay really present in the conversation. I'm not constantly taking down handwritten notes. That really can be disruptive, and I'm bound to miss something along the way.
You talk to it. I think that's really important. And being strict on it, right? And like
Yes.
giving it as much context as possible.
Yeah. I think talking to it is one of the keys. I mean, I hear people all the time, just had a conversation last week. Oh, well, chat doesn't sound like me. Well, because you don't talk to it. If you talk to it, it really does start to listen and learn, how do you talk? What is your cadence? What's the language you use? What's the syntax, right? And that's what I find really valuable is now when I talk to it, it's giving me back something that to some degree sounds like me. Not all the time. Like you said, got to be a little hard on it, got to push back. Nope, that's not right. I don't like that. Try again. Try this. I want to start with that. But I do really appreciate that. And it really helps me with some tasks that otherwise would be pretty onerous for me. And I appreciate it, being able to pick up that slack.
If you could pick one practical tip for founders or business owners wanting to build a team that scales without depending on them, what would it be?
Yeah, that is the $64,000 question, as they say, right? So I think the biggest tip I can offer is as the founder and the CEO of your business is to listen more and talk less. Your team has incredible data. They're the ones that work with your customer, they work with your product, they understand your service, right? They even understand the inner workings of your business sometimes better than you do. So I think the ability as leaders to ask really great open-ended probing questions and then use your ears and your mouth in the proportion they exist on your face. You don't have to be the person that's always talking, and you definitely don't have to be the loudest. But if you ask great questions and you listen, your team will give you great information, and that will actually help you accelerate growth in your business. It'll also help you understand, where do you potentially need to build in more team? Where do they need help? Where are there pieces that are missing in their skill set? They will help you understand, and you'll be able to do it better and faster.
Where can they find you and learn more?
Yeah. So you can always find me on my website. That's highvoltageleadership.ca. I also spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, and I love new connections. So come and connect with me. My name is Lindsay White. I always try and post some really great content about conversations just like we've had today, Pete. And if you're on Instagram, my handle there is at highvoltleadership.
Thanks for coming on today, Lindsay. I love this conversation. It's good having you.
Thanks so much, Pete.
Exit algorithms. Scale smarter. Sell stronger.